Hi, and welcome to Dollars and Making Sense, a weekly show about finance, money, and investing. I'm your host, Ray Treverson. We broadcast locally on Radio Northern Beaches and around Australia on the Community Radio Network, complements of the Community Broadcasting Association of Australia. I'm really pleased to welcome back to the microphone and the camera Queen Chilenga, who is, and I'm going to get this right, a financial social worker that's doing money education and coaching to promote financial wellness in the community. Queen, you've recently changed your company name to Glow and Thrive Hub, and you're focusing on more holistic wellness. And we'll talk a little bit about your website in a bit. But just to recap, ladies and gents, we had Queen on the show a little while back, actually one of our favourite shows with the professionals, and also we got a lot of hits online and YouTube. So I guess, Queen, this message of financial counselling and I guess well-being really hit a nerve. It was very, very popular. I know that you shared it within your own Kalgoorlie online community. How did the show come across with your listeners?
It was the listeners were very receptive, and they were happy with the content that was shared. And a lot of things that we talked about, people were able to relate with it. And because money, we don't really talk about money. So just having that conversation and talking about the things that were raised in that show that day, it really helped for a lot of people. And they were able to start the money conversation within their small groups. So it was good.
Well, today, Queen, upon your suggestion, I think we are going to tread where angels fear to go. So we are going to start talking about money and couples. And I think one of the interesting things, because we have Philippa Hunt, who does a lot of work with women, a lot of elderly women who are facing a lot of challenges around financial well-being and abuse. I guess, the title of today, and it's potentially going to be a two-part, possibly even three-part series, When Couples Fight Over Money. So why did you want to talk about this to begin with, just to sort of segue into this discussion?
Sure. So my husband Regan and I and our other friends, so we gather every fortnight to talk about marriage stuff, and we are doing like marriage course, and in it was finances. So it was really good conversation to like just talk about money with the other couple. And that's how it started. And then also just me taking it to the community and talking about money with other couples and how they are managing finances in their household. So that's how the interest came about. And I did a little bit of digging and just read a few articles out there. And then I came across that one, and really the content that was in that article really spoke to me, and it was relatable to what's currently happening and how we're dealing with money as a couple in a household, I would say.
Well, I have to tell you, I've been married 36 years now, and I've been around a lot of married couples in my time. I was an army officer, and I had many soldiers who married very early. And so what's interesting, you've used, and we'll put this document link on the blog, the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships 2023, When Couples Fight About Money, What Do They Fight About? And this particular study that you've sent me, Queen, follows two studies. First one in social media posts, which we're going to talk about quite a bit, and the second, core disagreements recalled by married couples. So again, interesting reading. So I guess as a financial social worker, why do the studies take a thematic view? So why are the themes important in the way that they study how couples fight?
I don't know. I've just recently understood that money is very broad. It's not just about the earnings and the spending. There's more to money. And for example, when it comes to managing money for couples, they're coming from different backgrounds. Both people grew up differently, and how they dealt with money in that particular household where they grew up has shaped how they think about money, and has shaped also the relationship that they have money. So it's not just about managing the budget, but there is more to it. And there is money beliefs. There is how people, for example, I would give an example. One household grew up with a lot of money, so them spending money was okay. Then you look at another person that grew up in a home where their finances were tight. So spending money, they don't spend money easily. And then you put those two people together. One is as they grew up like spending money was okay, and then the other, they grew up like making sure like you are calculating everything that you spend. So that can have an impact on how a couple manages money. So
and I guess because of the work that you do, it's one of these interesting things. I have friends that I knew through my school community that were police officers. And when police officers are always around crooks and bad guys, their view of the world gets to be tempered. And I guess in the same way as a financial coach and a social worker, you are, I guess, coming across people that are usually in financial stress, probably a lot more than the average person does day by day.
Yep.
Are your views coloured somewhat by and biased somewhat by the fact that you are seeing people in financial distress quite a lot compared to, say, the everyday person?
I think so. And being a social worker has also really helped me to see some of the issues that an average person would not be able to see. So, for example, like money, not only does it impact your well-being, but it can also disrupt the family as well if it's not managed properly. And you get to see, for example, in a household where they are on a low income and then one person is spending more, that can have an impact on the whole family, not just on the couple themselves, but also it can affect the kids where like they don't have enough money to go for school excursions or school activities because the income is limited. So there's more issues that are involved when money is not managed well in a household, and that can have a huge impact holistically on the whole family as well. And we're talking about mental health now. Like there is an increase in mental health. I did a workshop 2 weeks ago where I did some research, and I found out that 15% of the calls that are made through Lifeline, some of them are financially related. People are financially stressed about it.
Yes, I've actually volunteered a number of years back. I did some fundraising and volunteered with Lifeline here locally in Sydney at the Gordon area. And unbeknownst to me, I didn't realise, but Lifeline does a lot of work in financial counselling and gambling addiction. And again, I don't know what the situation is like in Kalgoorlie, Queen, but certainly poker machines are a real scourge in Sydney. And when you look at the statistics from the Productivity Commission, the negative impact of gambling on communities and couples especially is just devastating. I mean, are you seeing the same thing in Kalgoorlie?
I would say that so. And also now, like because of technology, people can, do gambling online. They don't need to go. They don't need to leave their home. They can do it on their phones and stuff like that. And the problem is just becoming worse as well, especially for a family that's on a low income, like they're earning, below the average Australia is earning. And then on top of that, if they have that addiction of gambling, and also if they have an addiction of, let's say, for example, some of the people that smoke and drink, that can have a huge impact on their budget as well, because then they're spending money on these other things that they're addicted on when they don't have enough for their household.
I've got to say, I've never smoked in my life. I've never tried it. And yet when I walk past the cigarette counters in our local supermarkets and I see the prices, it just blows my mind. It's like, wow, I have no concept of it. And again, being in the armed forces, many of my soldiers smoked. Interestingly, only one out of the 19 officers I served in my regiment smoked. And I didn't know whether that was education, socioeconomics. I just know that was, that's the reality that I saw. And it's a very tiny thing. But the question that I really wanted to ask is that given you are on the front line doing what you do, is there a common thread or a common theme that you encounter with couples in financial stress and when they're fighting?
I think for me, the one that stood out the most for me, especially in the gold fields, is the imbalances in income, because we are in a mining town, sorry. And there's couples where one of the spouses is working in the mines, they're earning I don't know, 6 figures, and then the other couple is just the other person in the couple is earning less. So the imbalances in the income that the couple is contributing, that also sometimes can cause like conflict in a relationship, because then the person who is contributing more to the household income has more power to make decisions or how the money is spent and stuff like that. And I felt like it's a good theme to be able to talk about it, especially for couples that are married. My opinion has always been like, and look, I stand to be corrected. When a couple comes together, they are married, they become one. So there shouldn't be a thing of like, this one is a breadwinner or this one, because they earn more, they can make more financial decision. We do together. Yeah.
And again, experientially, you are seeing this every day on the front line. It would be, especially in a mining town, when you look at the statistics, it's predominantly a male-oriented workforce that then is making this imbalance. Then that, again, I'm just projecting here, but I would think that then ends up exacerbating the male-female disparity, and I guess the power struggle between a man and a woman in a relationship. Would that be a fair assessment?
It would be. And also, like, it's kind of like stereotyping, because even when we were growing up, when I was younger, dads are the ones that went to work. They had more say in how the money was spent in the household. So like even here in Kalgoorlie, majority, anyway, we do have females that work in the mining sector as well, but predominantly it's men that work in the mining sector, and they make big monies and stuff like that. So there is that imbalance even in gender as well, so that they will make more financial decision for their household compared to the females who are earning less.
And again, it's a topic that ends up coming up whether you like it or not. And I've done this with Philippa Hunt on a number of occasions. Domestic violence to circulate around these discussions as well. You don't come across that, but it would be a fair assumption that you occasionally do see that kind of thing as well.
Yes. So as a social, FDV is at the center of what we do as well in my other role that I do as a social worker. And especially now with cohesive control and how everything is changing, you can see how money also can be a trigger in a relationship, especially if, allow me to say this, if the perpetrator is the one earning more money, they will have more control and dominate the victim survivor in an FDV relationship.
Yeah.
Which is really sad to see. Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, we're just about half time. I'm here with Queen Chilenga, and she is let me put this right, a financial social worker with Glow and Thrive Hub out of Kalgoorlie. Today, we are talking about when couples fight over money. We're going to be away for a short break. We'll be back in just a moment. Hi, and thank you for listening to Dollars and Making Sense, a weekly radio program about finance, money, and investing on Radio Northern Beaches and nationally on the Community Radio Network around Australia. The views, comments, and opinions aired during our program should not be construed or viewed as financial advice. Any commentary is general advice only and does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. You should consider whether the advice is suitable for you and your personal circumstances. If in doubt, you should contact an authorised licensed financial planner. We welcome questions and feedback, and you can get in touch with us via our blog, social media channels, or email. Please search for Dollars and Making Sense in your favourite podcast platform, or check out our blog at otgcapital.com.au/blog. Hi, and welcome back to Dollars and Making Sense, a weekly show about finance, money, and investing. I'm your host, Ray Treverson. I'm really pleased to welcome back to the microphone and camera Queen Chilenga, who is a financial social worker who does money education and coaching to promote financial wellness in her local community in Kalgoorlie. She runs a business called Glow and Thrive Hub. She has a new website called glowthrivehub.com.au. And today we are talking about when couples fight over money. Now, Queen, even though I've been married for 36 years, I can't claim total immunity. I'm at fault and guilty. I know if my wife's hearing this, she'll probably be yelling from the kitchen. But yes, I do occasionally make errors. Yes, but one of the interesting things, and one of the questions I had for you, that when couples fight, all relationships have conflict, but not all conflict is bad. So in your experience, are you able to turn a conflict situation into a good conflict that actually has a good result?
Yes, and look, for people that are in relationships, whether the relationship is new or old, like yours, 36 years, or me, married 7 years, conflicts are always there. And it's good because then we grew up differently and people have different opinions. And we are people, no one is perfect. And many conflicts, in my views, are good conflicts because then, I'll give an example. This particular couple, I'm not going to disclose their names, but like they were making a decision to buy a car. So they had a conflict because then their husband wanted a particular type of car and how much it was going to cost. And then the wife suggested another particular car. But then they had multiple fights about it because one was saying, oh, you're not listening to me because I want to buy this car because I earn more money. I can be able to afford this car. Then the wife was challenging the husband saying, no, we need to be thinking about in a situation where you lose your job, you don't have a job, how are we going to afford to pay all the other bills that we have currently as a family? So it's a good conflict to have and put the problem on the table so that the family, they can discuss about the money situation that they have. And the outcome of that problem, after they had back and forth, and there was multiple times the couple did not talk to get to each other because of that particular incident, but then they both sat down, they did their budget because the wife challenged the husband, you show me the money, do the maths for me, then we'll be able to see which car we can afford to buy. And that was really good because then after they did that, then they were able to see how much they can afford, and they were able to decide as a family which car they're going to buy. So money conflicts are good because then they'll be able to raise some of the issues that you can deal with so that you mitigate the money problems that can happen in the future. So let's say, for example, if a couple, they're not fighting about money, this one decides, oh, I'm going to go and get this, or I'm going to go and get this loan, or I'm going to go and do this without the other one objecting. In the future, you might end up in problem, like financial problems that you could have prevented if you had a fight or a conversation about it. That's my take.
No, that's very, very good. I guess it leads me back to an interesting point of when my wife and I first decided to get married. One of the things that I really insisted upon very early is that we had joint bank accounts, and so we shared everything. And we always joke about the fact that I had just bought an apartment in Sydney at a time when it was crazy, and my wife had a fairly healthy debit on a David Jones card, a department store. And so we brought different things to the table, but I was always of the view that from the very outset that you need to share the ups and the downs. And I guess when we came across couples that didn't have joint bank accounts, I just sat there and I was dumbfounded. And so again, I want to ask you, from your experiences on the ground, seeing this day by day, do you see couples that have shared accounts react and work differently or better or worse compared to couples that have separate bank accounts?
I want to take this question on two different angles. One angle is, let's say, for example, if a couple has FTV involved in it, they're not in a good place where they fight. Having a joint account sometimes could be a barrier for the victim survivor to escape, because then you understand with FTV and the control. So if they have the joint account, it's really difficult for the victim survivor to have a plan of escape or save money for them to start over. So that could be a barrier. That one, having said that. But then going to couples, like, for example, there's no FTV, the couple is happy, they're wanting to do things together, like everything is good in that household. My opinion would be having a joint account is helpful because then you can hold each other accountable and you have to be transparent. My husband and I, we always talk about, like, if I'm the most important person in your life, like, you shouldn't be hiding your money from me. Because, like, if you are saying that I am your one person, you are my husband or I'm your wife, my money or everything that concerns me, it should be your business. So, like we always say, like, each household is a government. You do things together as a government because this house, we are all on the same team. So my opinion on having a joint account is something that I support. But look, each household works differently, and I have to have an understanding of that particular household for me to make a call. But like, my suggestion would be having a joint account is really good, because then it helps the couple to do money together. Everyone has access to what's happening in their account, and they all know. And especially with what we talked about earlier, the gambling situation. Let's say, for example, my husband was gambling and we have a joint account. I'll be able to see that behavior, and I'll be able to encourage and ask him to seek help. But then if I don't know about that account and he's got a gambling issue, I'm not going to know about it until when it's like really, really bad.
Too
So
late.
there are
Yeah.
there's some advantages of having a joint account, because then you'll be able to see even the spending, like everyday spending as well. I know some people, they come from families where spending money is not a big thing, because as long as they have one hand ends it, the other hand goes and spends it, and that's okay. So let's say, for example, you're a couple, you're in that relationship. It's good to see that pattern of behavior. And look, if you're married, all you can do is help each other to improve. So you don't get mad, you just start educating each other. Okay, we can spend better. We are spending a lot of money because I've seen that you're spending more. But if you don't have a joint account, that's really difficult for you to speak in the situation, because you don't know.
Yeah, I just go from personal experience. I just know that when I've seen couples that do the separate account thing, again, my wife and I just look at it. We have that knowing look, and we sort of go, "Oh, okay," and it never ends well. It never
No.
ends well. We always know, and again, we've got a lot of years behind us now, and pretty well all the couples that we know that have hung in and made it work, and even when we know couples that have split, it's still a reasonably amicable split, because they've, after 25, 30 years, they look at each other and go, we really don't love each other anymore. The kids are growing up, they've moved on. But there's I mean, I know a couple that have very respectfully split, but they did the money thing really, really well. And again, I know it's rare, but it can happen. So I guess it's one of those interesting things that, when I see that, it sort of does smile. It makes me smile. But again, we've had Philippa talk a lot about, and you've just mentioned it yourself, women that are in fraught situations, they need to be able to put money away for a go away fund. And again, I hate hearing that, but I absolutely understand the practicalities. The next question I've got for you is a little bit interesting. I mean, do you find when couples are fighting that you might look at it and go, "My God, these people have got a ton of money. Why are they fighting?" Do you come across that situation?
Look, people fight for different reasons. My area of expertise as a financial social worker is talking about money. So the fights that are coming on my table are fights about money. However, though, I would point out there's so many other things that couples fight about, and money is one of them. And money happens to be one of them because, kind of like I always say, money is a tool. We use it as a tool to parent. We use it as a tool to do many things. But it's important that we understand, we don't let it get between us. And that's some of the messages when I'm talking to couples about money. My message is, this is just a tool. Don't let it get between you guys. So no matter how small, no matter how big your money problem is, there is always a way to find your way out of it. So it's just for couples, what I encourage is being able to understand, this is our problem. How can we move forward? Not just sitting on the problem and hitting each other and, I don't know, dying in the problem. I'm not sure if
Gosh.
I answered the question.
No, that's fine. But again, you've mentioned earlier in the show that you have clients that are earning very good amounts of money. So that they are working in the mines, they are making six figures and more. Although again, in Sydney, if you're earning six figures, I think you're still just scraping by, depending on, whether it's low six figures or whatever. But, you can still have situations where couples are earning, collectively good money, but there is still a lot of conflict because of these variations. And I think one of the things that, again, I had in here is budgeting, a shared role, or is that the kind of thing that you see, again, from your experience, that if sitting down and working out a budget is not a shared role, that's when conflict can occur?
I think so. And look, I learn so much when the government does things, and I ask myself, how can I make it personal? So for example, when the state or federal government, they do a budget, they announce it to the country so that the country knows. Why are they doing that? So that the country is able to know whether we are in a surplus or a deficit, we can do certain projects and we can do certain projects. That's an awareness, so you know your financial situation. And I think it's the same for the household as well. A budget should be a shared thing where both party or both couples or people involved in a relationship are able to have a say in it, or have an eye, or know what's happening in there. And I do understand not everyone is good with numbers, and in the relationship there are other people that are good with doing money stuff and there are other people that are not. So they could delegate and get the person that's good at it do it, but then everyone has an oversight of what goes in the budget and where the budget is sitting. And just having that knowledge about your budget, it tells you what you do next. So as a family, if you do a budget, be the husband has done the budget, and you share with your wife, oh, this is our budget. Here we are on a surplus. We can afford a vacation to Bali. Or we have a deficit. That vacation that we had planned, we are not going. So a budget is a great tool for couples to be able to help the households financial decision, what they do next, because that tells you a lot when you do your budget.
Excellent, excellent. Well, look, we're just about out of time for today's show. And again, ladies and gentlemen, I prefaced the introduction saying it's likely to be two parts, and it definitely is, because we've got so much more that we want to talk about and need to talk about when it comes to, why couples fight about money. And again, I will point you to that resource that I mentioned before. I'll just read that website again. Glow, G-L-O, Glow Thrive Hub. That's all one word, glowthrivehub.com.au. That's where you'll find Chilenga and all the details about the service that she provides locally. And until next time for part 2, Chilenga, thanks for being on Dollars and Making Sense.
Thank you for having me.